Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm just gonna jump right into the video because this tea is fresh, honey. So the other day, Jaclyn Hill posted this photo to her Instagram page with the caption, "I had the most incredible time shooting with @Sasha Samsonova for my palette with Morphe brushes. Very exciting things are happening." Right away, it got me thinking, could they possibly be revamping her palette that's less than a year old? I mean, I knew it was too early to be adding a second part to the palette, seeing as how this one took 2 years to complete. And we know Morphe is recently completely rebranded with a new logo, brand new packaging, and a complete overhaul to their website, so what else could it be? A day later, my suspicions were confirmed when Jaclyn very excitedly tweeted, "It's official, my palette is coming to Ulta and the packaging is getting a makeover for Ulta. It's a glossy white, in brackets, easy to clean, and the shade names are on the back." Now, I knew her palette was going to Ulta, but until she posted on Instagram, I had no idea that the packaging would be changing. The price will remain the same at $38 US on both Morphe and Ulta's sites. However, you will definitely not be able to use an influencer code at Ulta. How are they going to work influencer codes once Morphe fully transitions to Ulta, you ask? Well, from what I've heard from very good sources, influencer codes will be phased out because there is no way Ulta would agree to carry a line where they'd be competing with influencers offering 10% off the same products. So what do you do in this case? You cut off the influencer supply so the sales run through Ulta and the freestanding stores, and the 10% that the influencers made would then go to Ulta, as Ulta has very large sales margins. And by the way, Morphe is currently in the works to go to Sephora as well, but they're starting off with brushes which are already in production, so from what I've heard, it will kind of be like a Morphe for Sephora type deal to begin with. So there's really no use for influencers now that Morphe's gone global. Anyway, after Jaclyn tweets about her palette going to Ulta, people start reacting, and rightfully so, as seen in this tweet that reads as follows. For God's sake, why couldn't they do this from the start? Only just got mine on Beauty Bay, no names anywhere, and the packaging dirty already. Jaclyn responded with this gem. "I know, I totally get it, but we learned a lot about what people wanted when we launched and now able to make updates and improvements." The person respectfully responded to Jaclyn saying, "I appreciate you working on feedback. I'm based in Ireland. I waited ages for Beauty Bay to get it, and now there's a better version coming." Then there's this person who said, "Bruh, I spent so much on shipping and my palette is fucked up because of eyeshadow stains." Jaclyn responded with, "I know, upset emoji," you know, as if she didn't know about this for months. That's why they're updating the packaging to fit Morphe's new branding. Now, let's get into this, because you know I have an opinion. First of all, this is totally unfair to her subscribers to literally be releasing an updated version of a palette that is less than a year old. Don't even try sitting there saying, "Oh, we learned a lot about what people wanted and we're now able to make updates and improvements." You had 2 fucking years to make it right. What were you doing in that time? You mean to tell me it didn't occur to you to put the shade names on the palette when you specifically named all of them? That is the very first thing I noticed when I opened the palette. Nobody wants a paint by numbers palette, especially when you're paying a premium for it. The reality is, the reason the shade names are not directly on the palette is because it would have cost more than just inserting a cue card. Obviously, if Jaclyn took the time to name the shades and a cue card was created, there was definitely talk of whether or not to include the names on the actual palette. On top of that, being that the palette is white, which is not typical for an eyeshadow palette for obvious reasons, but it also didn't cross anyone's mind to use a glossy material so that it would be easy to clean, or was it that the glossy material would be more expensive and you were simply trying to cut costs so the money ended up in your pockets rather than being spent on higher quality materials for the palette? There is no way anyone's gonna tell me that these things weren't thought of. Everything was done for a reason. You have to remember that Jaclyn's palette is $15 more than a typical Morphe palette, so what is the justification for the price increase? The supposed new formula that actually wasn't a new formula at all? When you Google the ingredients of Jaclyn's palette, the first thing that pops up in the search results is the Morphe 25A Copper Spice eyeshadow palette, which was supposed to be a limited edition palette, originally released December 2016. If you compare the ingredients between the two palettes, they are identical, meaning that the supposed brand new formula used for Jaclyn's palette was actually the same formula used in the Morphe 25A Copper Spice eyeshadow palette. When people started catching on that the palettes shared the same ingredients, suddenly the reason for the price increase was because of the way the shadows were pressed, which actually doesn't make a difference at all. All shadows are pressed differently, so there's that, plus the fact that they cut corners by not including the shade names on the actual palette and not using a better quality glossy material for the box, so how do we justify the extra $15? Yes, the packaging is different to Morphe's typical packaging, but a $15 increase is a lot. Now, what I've heard from two very good sources was that the reason for the delay in the palette was that Jaclyn held up production because in addition to the money she received up front for the palette, she was originally supposed to receive $3 per palette plus her affiliate commission when someone uses her code on the palette, which by the way, her rate is 15%, not 10% like the rest of the influencers, but anyway, she allegedly held up production and demanded $5 per palette rather than the $3, and she got it. So let's do some math just for the fuck of it. Say Morphe sold 100,000 palettes, which believe me, they've sold way more than that. So 100,000 palettes times $5 per palette is $500,000, which does not include her 15% commission or the fee she received up front, and as I said, with all the restocks of this palette, they've sold hundreds of thousands of palettes. Now, I will be transparent and say that I did ask her about this at one point, and she said that the delay was due to manufacturing issues and not because she demanded more money, and that she actually doesn't get paid either of those amounts, so it's up to you to decide if you want to believe her, but as I said, I trust the sources my info came from. Let's be real here for a second. 2 years spent on this palette and they still couldn't get it right? I specifically remember Jaclyn saying that after 2 years of revisions and hard work, the palette was finally perfect and she was so proud of it, yet here we are only 4 months post-launch and the packaging is being redone. I mean, that's absurd. It makes me wonder how long this new packaging was in the works and how long she's known about this change, because this shit doesn't just happen overnight. It's a process planned out far in advance. Now, if you remember, at the time of the launch, Morphe had just been sold, so to me this looks like let's get rid of the old stock and when that runs out, they'll replenish with new branding and packaging, but that's not what her subscribers signed up for when they bought this palette. They signed up to receive the best possible version of the Morphe and Jaclyn Hill palette after waiting on it for 2 years, and that's not what they got, so I feel like she took advantage of her subscribers in that respect. For a palette that was supposedly dedicated to her loving subscribers, it really doesn't seem like they were thought of as anything more than dollar signs. I just find this to be total bullshit from Jaclyn, and I don't want to hear that she didn't know about the repackaging of her palette for a long time, because she definitely did. Think about it, it's being sold in Ulta in a week. This was in the works for a while, and I don't want to hear that she didn't know Morphe was going to Ulta either, because that's a lie. Remember when she said she helped Linda pick the shades for the new Morphe 3502 palette?
The time has finally come. I am so excited for this palette, you guys. You have no idea. Look at this new logo, this new PR packaging. I am obsessed. Oh my God, why didn't I think of that? Look at how like professional, like just on point this is. Like they have a full on color story in here. The visuals are so beautiful. Like it just feels, it's just another level of Morphe, you know? So this is the new 3502 palette that's launching in like a week and a half to 2 weeks, I would say. Look at how dope this new packaging is. Like it's so sleek. Oh my gosh. In the back, it's ready for global. Oh my God. So here's the actual palette with their new logo, which is so sleek. I love it. Like just simple and sleek logos. I'm all about that. But the reason I'm so excited about this palette in particular is because I actually helped Linda in the product development of this palette, meaning I helped her pick out the shades. So I had a say on about half the colors in this palette. And this is the first time that I've actually been seeing it in person. I opened it up yesterday and swatched it and like FaceTime Linda and freaked out. It's so cool though. Like I love how all the names are right there on the plastic insert. And look at how like fiery and just like hot and like deep and rich all these colors are. And this is no filter, so you guys can really see it. And we're just dealing with like the lighting in my kitchen right now. Like that's where I'm staying right now. I'm just like in my kitchen with no lights.
So you mean to tell me that she knew about this palette and the rebranding, but she didn't know about her own palette? No. I'm kind of at the point right now where I've tried to give Jaclyn a fair chance, but it's getting harder and harder to give her the benefit of the doubt. I'm sick of the excuses and putting the blame on everyone else, and by the way, I'm not saying that she said she didn't know about the repackaging, but I'm sure the excuses are going to start rolling in now that people are upset. And honestly, I'm sick of everything always being everyone else's fault. You know, it's Becca's fault, or I didn't know, or I didn't have control over that. Just stop. I really feel like she's being unfair to the people who got her to where she is is today. You know, the new rock on your finger that's probably close to the price of a lot of people's homes? Or the hundreds of thousands of dollars in Cartier jewelry you wear? Or those Chanel and Birkin bags that sit in your custom closet? That's all because of your subscribers, which, by the way, you rarely post videos for anymore. Unless, of course, it's to promote a new palette from Morphe. In that case, you'll dust the cobwebs off your camera and film. Like, girl, get it together. After her palette launch, she literally only posted one tutorial using it. She didn't even bother trying to sell the palette because it sold itself and she had all the Morphe pimps out selling it for her to get their cut. She only recently posted another tutorial using it, which is ridiculous. It's like, girl, if you're not into YouTube anymore and you want to focus on other things, that's fine, but just say so because everyone can see that you've lost your passion for it, and that's okay. Whether she lost her passion or it's the simple fact that YouTube money and the effort that goes into creating a video pales in comparison to the millions she's making from Morphe, I don't know. I'm not saying that Jaclyn doesn't deserve the things she's worked for or anything like that. I respect her hustle and I like her as a person, but this whole stunt is not cool in my opinion. Saying that you appreciate your subscribers is one thing, but showing it is another, and I really think she needs to do better. Anyway, you guys, that is it for this video. Let me know how you feel about the repackaging and how you feel as a customer and subscriber of Jaclyn's. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and follow me on social media at HereForTheT2. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys again soon in my next video. Bye!